Are behaviors such as viewing pornography, individuals who may be obsessed with sexual related content, is that the same thing as having an addiction? Exactly the same as someone who's addicted, has an addiction with drugs, if you will, such as an individual who may have alcohol use disorder, opiate use disorder. So essentially, an individual who has a substance abuse dependency addiction problem, right? Are they exactly the same thing? I hear this word, I have an addiction. It's kind of thrown around a bit loosely sometimes. People will sometimes talk of themselves in a general sense. I'm just an addictive person, if you will. So you'll hear that sometimes too. But in this video, I want to be specific to discuss a few things here and then to differentiate between behaviors like a lot of men who come to me in therapy, their main problem or one of the problems within a context of a larger issue, perhaps, is that they view pornography as a coping mechanism to fulfill different needs, and they will describe it as an addiction and may speak about it in a way as if they're helpless to do anything about it. And I'm going to get into how individuals internalize behavioral problems such as being obsessed with watching pornography, other unhealthy habits, behaviors, and also addiction, abuse of drugs as well. So before I get into the issues such as barriers to change with regards to people and individuals who will speak in a way, think in a way that essentially promotes staying the same. They speak about the problem, the behaviors, and which flows from a way of thinking, right? So they think and speak in a way about their behavior, so whether it's pornography, drug addiction, etc., in a way that promotes staying the same versus promoting change. So I see a lot of individuals do this, and I call them out on it. As far as when I see what's happening, right? I'll call it out and challenge it. So individuals, you'll see them do this. The way they speak about an issue is a bit sneaky. They speak about their issue, which they are calling a problem, and they will ostensibly be speaking about it in a way like, hey, I want to change, ostensibly as if they're speaking about how they're wanting to change it. So they're coming across in that manner. Hey, I want to change this. At the same time, it's actually, they're speaking about why they're not going to change it, right? It's kind of a sneaky way of being a bit manipulative and dismissive as to why they're not going to change the behavior or do something about it. So I'll get more into that in the second part of this video. So what I want to do right now is differentiate just real quickly and just give an example of how a behavioral problem such as viewing pornography that a person will say is undermining their relationship. It's being a bit disruptive. They're wasting a lot of time viewing pornographic content throughout the day. Perhaps they're viewing it at work too, and other places where it can be a problem. So that situation versus someone who has developed dependency with alcohol, who progressively, as a result of tolerance and withdrawal issues happening, largely tolerance is that they can drink more or they require more of the drug. In this case, alcohol. It takes more to get the same euphoria, to get a buzz, right, to get the same level of intoxication or effect that is desired. So as a result of this progression, yeah, invariably, especially of some individuals, they are more susceptible to developing a serious acute withdrawal symptoms such as delirium tremors, shakes, sweats, grand mal seizures, which can kill you, very dangerous. In fact, alcohol is about one of the most dangerous drugs to withdraw from cold turkey or just to abruptly quit it, right, without medical supervision. So this is why individuals who have serious withdrawal symptoms from alcohol, they don't just simply say, yep, this is my last beer or drink a whiskey and then I'm done. They can't do that because it's dangerous. They literally can die. And individuals have died due to acute withdrawal symptoms from alcohol withdrawals. So in this situation, the individual does require a medical detox. They typically go inpatient into a hospital. Typically, it can be a psychiatric slash CD chemical dependency facility that has a detox unit. And so, yeah, they'll go in there. They'll do a Librium taper, like a benzo type taper, to help them safely come off of alcohol so they do not die. So they'll be medically stable and safe to then be discharged and go home. Of course, there's other things that individual will need to do after that if they want to stay sober and in recovery. So this situation that I mentioned of alcohol, what about something that has nasty withdrawal symptoms? Perhaps not as dangerous as alcohol, but opioids, yeah, those can be pretty uncomfortable for people. Bone aches, chill, sweats, diarrhea, miserable for a lot of these individuals who just cold turkey come off of heroin, opiates, opioids. So there's a physiological consequence in the form of uncomfortable withdrawal. You get the point. Some drugs more dangerous than others. So the difference with a behavioral problem like viewing pornography, while there may be some parallels, some similarities with addiction in that pornography is being used, can be used as a coping mechanism to fulfill different needs for an individual, similar to how someone may use alcohol as a coping mechanism and fulfilling different needs. So there's can be a similarity there for sure. But where there's not any similarity is the fact that if you stop watching pornography cold turkey, let's say you're like Tom Hanks in that movie Castaway, right? Let's pretend that character he played in Castaway had a pornography behavior problem with pornography, viewing it every day. Well, he would have had a big problem on that island, right? Because cold turkey, he can't get on an iPhone or anything else or other devices to get on some porn website, right? Nope, he would only have within his available options of resources. Like in the movie, he kind of gets by on fish. He uses a soccer ball to create an imaginary friend, Wilson, and so on. So he basically is left to his own devices with the available options and resources on this island. So if Tom Hanks' character would have had a behavioral problem with pornography, he would not experience any type of physiological distress that would be comparable or even close or similar to that of alcohol withdrawal, opioid withdrawal, like drug withdrawal. You get the idea. Now, I will say this: if a behavior such as watching pornography excessively or daily, if that is being used as a coping mechanism for stress, anxiety, it represents something you have control over. It's a way of distracting yourself. And in some cases, there may be men doing a masturbation with this, which just compounds the issue, makes it worse. So that situation, because it's fulfilling a particular need for them, helping them, for example, to feel less anxious day to day with this avoidance way of approaching anxiety. Well, in this case, if the individual did not learn different ways to fulfill the need of managing or reducing anxiety, well, that would be a result of abruptly having pornography not as an option anymore. Yeah, you would be left to whatever devices you have otherwise to have to experience all your anxiety in its totality, nothing to kind of distract you anymore. Yeah, so you'd have an issue. You'd probably feel those things that you've been avoiding all this time. So in that sense, if you want to say there is some kind of a consequence, it'd be that. Yeah, I don't have any other way to fulfill my needs. I do not have any other coping mechanisms to replace pornography. So now, yeah, I am feeling more anxious and overwhelmed because I haven't learned different ways to fulfill my needs. So these things are similar, but they're also very different. And yes, there can be more to be said about dopamine and having immediate access to just scrolling through reels or videos of watching people have sex, right? And how it may even spike dopamine. So there's these issues with that too, for sure. And that would be the physiological issues going on with certain behaviors. Or maybe it's just the idea you could get caught. So maybe it's the excitement, right? That I could be caught doing this. Maybe the doing the taboo thing you're not supposed to do. So there can be a lot of caveats or reasons of certain things that are being fulfilled tied into a behavior like watching pornography. What about people who cheat, infidelity? Some of these individuals might be more just, if you want to use the word, addicted to the excitement of not getting caught, that they're getting away with it, right? So a lot of ways to look at this stuff and what needs are being fulfilled and what compels the behaviors. So there's so many directions you could go here, and this is a short video, so I'm not going to go down every rabbit hole in this video, but let's talk about what I see happen a lot in regards to barriers to change. And the main thing, or the number one thing, that's the biggest barrier to change in anything, whether it's I do not want to be addicted to watching pornography anymore, or I don't want to abuse alcohol anymore. I do not want to relapse on opiates. I do not want to relapse on cocaine, whatever that situation is, drugs, pornography, gambling, etc. The truth is, in order to change your behavior, to, if you want to use the word, to be in recovery from something, to no longer abuse watching pornography or watch pornography, period, to not be obsessed with sex all the time, to stop drinking alcohol, right? Do not relapse on alcohol. Ultimately, at the end of the day, a therapist, a program that you go into, whether it's inpatient, an IOP, partial hospital program, or just outpatient therapy, doesn't matter what level of care. At the end of the day, a program or a therapist cannot zap you with a magic wand and therapize you into recovery. It does not work that way. The therapist, a program can facilitate you have an insight into yourself, into how to solve your problems. But at the end of the day, the end result of insight or insight being demonstrated is when a person has readiness to make changes. Not only do they see the behavior as a problem, which is important, number two, they see the value in making the necessary changes. They're ready to change. You have to have those two things in place. Thirdly, yes, you have to start executing different new behaviors. Probably one of the biggest things I see happen a lot are people who make up a bunch of excuses for why they will not set rules and limits, which are boundaries, with situations, people, things like devices, computers, cell phones, iPads, websites, etc. A lot of excuses for why it's not going to happen. So here's one I've probably heard 1,000 times, right? When it comes to technology and social media and the internet. So, okay, a suggestion may be made, to have some rules and limits. Perhaps let's block some websites because that adds a layer or a step, puts that in front of you in order for you to be able to go to a website, which is a good idea. Perhaps delete some apps on your cell phone, etc. So I'll hear an excuse such as this, and it's right out of a playbook. You could probably buy a book of excuses. This would be in the book. So it would go like this: well, because I'm the person who's blocking the website, well, I can just unblock it myself. So I guess I'm just not going to block it, right? Which is a bit ridiculous. I'll get into why I see it as ridiculous here in a minute. This is similar to suggesting to someone who's an alcoholic or has an alcohol use disorder, who's in recovery, or who is kind of contemplating uh, stopping drinking, and they're kind of, going a bit back and forth with some ambivalence. And you suggest, it might be a good idea just to have a rule and a limit with your house. Let's not keep alcohol in your refrigerator anymore. Let's get rid of those liquor bottles. Get them out of your house, right? Let's do something. Let's kind of start having some rules, limits. Let's create some boundaries, right? And an individual will say, well, I could get rid of the beer or liquor out of my house, but it's not like I couldn't just drive down the street to the liquor store and buy more, or go to the store and buy more. So yeah, I guess I'll just leave the beer in the fridge and the liquor. I'm not going to do no. I haven't done nothing about it yet. It's still there in the fridge. So like if you follow up and ask them, hey, did you kind of work on those boundaries we discussed creating? Did you get that liquor out of your house? No, it's still there because I figured I could go to the liquor store and buy more. Okay, so I'm just gonna just say it in a way that's maybe not the nicest way. This is absolute bullshit reasons. Bullshit reasons. It's very dismissive, and it's not seeing the forest through the trees. Individuals who do this, they know damn well what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They're not ready to change it. They do not see the value yet. They don't want to break up with these things because they enjoy they enjoy the way it fulfills the needs for them. They are not ready to change it. So the bigger picture here, it's not so much that, yes, it is possible that if I am the one who blocks a website, of course I could unblock it. But that's not the point. The bigger point here is that our behavior sends messages to ourselves. Our behavior speaks volumes. Our behavior speaks volumes about what is important to us. It speaks volumes about commitment. So while it could be possible I could unblock a website, while it could be possible I could decide to drive to the liquor store and buy a fifth of Jim Beam or Jack Daniels or a 12-pack of beer, yeah, it's totally possible. But the truth is, because I am saying I no longer want to drink anymore. I no longer want to view pornography anymore. I am saying this, so therefore I take responsibility for that. I don't put the power for change outside of myself and these, whack-a-mole way of speaking about things, which is basically just being dismissive and not taking any responsibility. So the truth is, yes, you could totally unblock a website if you're the one who blocks it. You totally could go to the liquor store and buy more beer, alcohol, or liquor if you were to get rid of the stuff in your house. You sure could. But the fact that that's possible isn't the same thing as what committing to new behaviors that sends a message when you put a boundary in place, when you get alcohol out of your house, when you block a website, you delete an app, that behavior is symbolic, but it also sends a message to yourself. It promotes a different feeling, which will promote change. It increases the probability of change in behavior. It also adds layers or extra steps in the event you do try to go back to the old behavior. It buys you some time to think about what you're doing, to play the tape forward. Do I really want to do this? Do I really want to drive to the liquor store? You know what? It's been a few minutes. I thought about it. I think I'm not going to do that now. I think I'm going to go watch a movie instead, right? Or I could re-download that app again, but instead of that, I think I'll do something different. So it buys you some time. So it's really not necessarily an issue. It's possible to undo a boundary, essentially. How probable is it that you will relapse back into old behaviors? Well, definitely the probability that you're going to relapse back into old behavior is not as great when you commit to behaviors that send messages to yourself by being willing to commit to rules, limits, boundaries. That's right. So in the past, I used to smoke cigarettes. I do not anymore. So I had rules and limits. I threw away my ashtrays. I had a rule and limit that smoking does not occur in my house. Well, maybe if it's outside the house, right? At least it's not at home. Or I'm not going to buy another pack again. If I bum one, maybe it doesn't count because I didn't pay for it, which is a bit ridiculous. Doesn't matter if you pay for a cigarette or not. It's still bad for you, right? So that's a whole other issue of magical thinking. So rules and limits, I sure had them. And while I quit smoking as a process, those rules, limits, boundaries helped me to quit smoking cigarettes after almost 20 years of having a habit with it. So without rules, limits, behaviors that send a message to myself that I am committed, that increased my probability to not relapse because it promoted different feelings that were better for me. So I thought and behaved in a way that promoted change. So if I reframe, or if a person reframes it, restructures it in their mind, you could say something like this. The truth is, if I block this porn website, or if I get all the booze out of my house, the truth is I totally could just unblock this website. Totally could. I could re-download this app. I also could drive down the street to the liquor store and buy some more booze. That's totally true. But you know what? The truth is, I've been saying I feel concerned about these behaviors. I've been saying that I want help. I've been saying that I want to make changes. That's true too. So while maybe it is possible I can just re-download an app, unblock a website, or go to the liquor store, buy more beer or booze, the truth is I'm going to put these boundaries in place. That's right. I'm going to put them in place. I'm going to do it anyways because that's the right thing to do. My behaviors will show a commitment to change. So recovery or change in behavior from a lot of things, it is a process. Sometimes you slip, you get back up, and you get back on the horse and you keep going. But as a process over time, those commitments, putting boundaries in place, getting back on track, holding yourself accountable, think in a way that is honest, logical, not dismissive, hold yourself accountable. The power for changing is within yourself, the locus of control. It's you. It's you. Because if my belief is, well, because a liquor store exists a few blocks away, that means I can't have boundaries of alcohol now. Well, that says you have no power. The control's outside of you. Because a liquor store exists in the world out there somewhere, I'm not able to have boundaries in my house to begin my recovery process. I can't do it, which is ridiculous, right? So it's very dismissive. Individuals who do this, on some level, they know exactly what they're doing. They're not ready to change. They do not see the value yet to want to do it, to take responsibility for where change comes from. So same thing with pornography. Just because there's porn websites out there, just because you could unblock it or indirectly go to it. I hear that, oh, I could just go to indirectly to the website and get to it there anyways. It's kind of like saying, yeah, I blocked the shortcut to the liquor store, but I could still drive a 30-mile circle around the neighborhood to then come around the backside and get to it anyways. Yeah, it's longer, but I still get there. So, okay, all these spinning and rationalizations about, you know, how change can't, well, why change, for why change cannot occur, right? Because the power is outside of you. So the power is inside you once again, right? So, yep, things are possible, but how probable is anything? Well, the probability is based on you. Rules, limits, boundaries, commitment to change. So I think you get the idea. I could keep going on all day with this weekend. So my name's James Hunter. I've worked in the mental health field, also physical fitness industry field for the better part of, geez, let me think now. How long has it been? Probably 26 years total, if I add it all up. 53, going on almost 54 years old. So on my channel, I like to discuss different issues. Some of it might be physical fitness, health, wellness type topics, mental health type stuff. Sometimes other topics of interest, because why not? Existential issues, purpose, meaning, and so on. So if you like content like today's video and similar, I would really appreciate it if you could do me a solid and subscribe to my channel. Like the video if you want, share. Maybe you have some friends that speak in a way that's dismissive, right? For why it's not going to change versus speak in a way that promotes change. Because speaking in a way that promotes change produces different emotions and feelings, which will drive and influence better behaviors for you for sure and help you to get a better outcome. So I hope everybody's having a good day. Thank you and take care.